Okay, so I think people are actually out there anxiously awaiting your appearance. Just like yesterday. Yes, you had our hearts stopped yesterday, George. So tell us, bring us up to date on what's happening generally.
Well, I'd like to reintroduce my comrade in reporting here, Jason Goodman. He does the Hollywood guy. So normally, people who follow the channel know that I knock on a lot of double murder, triple murder doors, and so forth. And I'm normally not a little bit leery, but there was a lot of telltale signs yesterday that didn't come out too well. I was in Brooklyn. I was reporting on the Clinton Foundation. I drove by the foundation headquarters, the Hillary reelect headquarters in Brooklyn, if people were following.
Mm-hmm.
I said, here's the club headquarters of SEIU, where Podesta and Bob Creamer and Scott Foball, that chain of command, were ordering different deeds to be done.
Right.
And so I named the killer. Uh, Joe, yeah, Alpha Jolo. And then I connected them to the Awan brothers, and then I finally named Prosilico, which is the kind of the not a crime family, but a very well-known construction family. But he also is getting the Awan brothers, I believe, or different Pakistanis visas. So it wasn't like I wasn't in the hornet's nest saying nasty things.
Right.
And I think I tripped a wire because I came into the hotel the night before, and it looked kind of like the hit team was right on my shoulder, seeing where I was checking in, and then all of a sudden they checked out.
Mm-hmm.
And then my floor cleared on the sixth floor just as I was leaving. There was nobody to be seen. I couldn't open the stairs, and then the elevator was stopping on every floor, and I got in to talk to the elevator guy, and he said, "Oh yeah, we're just testing."
Uh-huh.
So I said, "Well, I'll just wait for the elevator to come back." And it goes down, and it brings up that same hit team from the day before. And, the guy had the proverbial black bag, and they're real big guys like this, the hit squad. And I thought, I'm just going to take the next elevator. I'm normally not too squeamish, but I just think and so Johnny T, if anybody saw the live stream of that,
We
it
did.
was pretty nuts. It was comedy. I guess it was heightened by the tension of the situation.
He with his chain.
It was rare.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very intimidating.
I'll stop him, George. He's from Brooklyn.
Yeah. Oh,
It was
he
funny.
looked intimidating, if nothing else. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Mm-hmm.
It was also interesting because there was a whole other thing that we're not going to go into that was sort of a farce that caused us to separate. So it kind of seems like they waited until they knew, because everything we're doing is being broadcast, so they know, when we're in the car together, obviously we're weaker when separated. So it seems like that was specifically done at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I should have known. I knew that part of the story was kind of the last puzzle piece of completing the whole rat line from Pakistan, ISI, all the way to Washington, all the way to New York. And I knew that was going to be the most dangerous leg of the trip. And that's why I saved it for last, because sometimes you don't get to go beyond, that last one. So
Mm-hmm.
I was glad I was able to put it together. And I broke this story today about an actual individual that came in through that visa program through the New York Film Academy. By the time we had driven down to New York Film Academy, we had so many different locations that they were at all over the world, taking in people that were my age, in their 50s, as scholarships,
Right.
And I always thought scholarships for 20-year-olds, I don't know.
Yeah, so it's
And
really,
getting visas and passports through that new loophole.
the
Right.
thing that I'm finding so interesting is that I first came to know George, like everybody else, just from watching him on YouTube, and what he was doing was exactly what I had sort of envisioned doing, but was never able to get off the ground. Not chasing the Iwan brothers, but using the crowdsource power of social media to put a huge think tank on a problem. And the thing is, George said New York Film Academy. I went to NYU Film School. I'm a director and a cinematographer, and so I said, hey, that's a pretty crappy film school, and I know they've got one in LA, they've got one in Miami. And we just yesterday, when George was under the threat of death, started doing Periscope so we could live stream. And we were doing that today in the car, and we were stuck in traffic, and everyone started just like commenting in about all the different locations of New York Film Academy. And it's just more metadata about how they get all this criminal activity done.
It's almost like we're not really even concerned about doing films, or we're going to do documentary film so we can get a passport,
Right,
or a green card.
Right.
Yeah.
Like so many of us. Yes, and the thing too is the tie-in, I guess, with the murder of the prosecutor, and I want to get his name right, so I'm not going to say it. He was also involved in visas and passports. Just happens to be in Broward County, where a lot of this activity is going on, Debbie Wasserman Schultz's area. So that's something that that hasn't gone unnoticed by a lot of people. They're the tie-ins. Can you talk?
Well, and yeah, sure. I mean, the prosecutor had just washed up the day before. We had just talked to the person that was doing the DNC lawsuit, Jared Beck, who is still pursuing it, even though the prosecutor was killed. And you could tell he was shaken.
Yeah.
I mean, it was something that it was a message killing. There was no even attempt to hide the fact that he washed up right, near where his home was on the Miami Beach. So, to go up to Brooklyn yesterday to do a visa story and name names of the families involved, I knew I was going into the hornet's nest.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
tense day.
It was a very tense day for everybody. I'm sure it was much more tense for you. There were just people trying to suss out what was happening, and it was cool to see the community coming together talking about crowdsourcing, because it really has become a community effort, and people are actually saying, I can't get on with my day till I know that George and Jason are okay. And so I've been trying to keep up to date as much as possible, but it's been tricky. You boys are they're doing all this